Joining me now is Mark Mitchell of Rasmussen Reports. He's the top pollster there. By the way, he'll be a keynote speaker at our upcoming Fall Worldview Weekend, our 22nd annual national conference in the Mid-South. Full details at worldviewstore.com. Worldviewstore.com. We only have 350 seats, folks, in the beautiful theater in Collierville, Tennessee. Full details and to register at worldviewstore.com. I think President Trump's poll numbers are going the wrong direction. Hopefully he can pull this out. But if not, are we headed to a fourth turning? Is this one of the last stops, as people say, well, we tried reform. We tried to stop the federal government and tyranny, the deep state, and the, MAGA movement didn't work. And now what is the option? Is it secession for states? Is that even possible now? Joining me to discuss all this is Mark Mitchell of Rasmussen. Mark, welcome back. Thanks for being with us.
Great to be here. Yeah, it's okay. Carolyn Levitt does the same thing. She calls me Matt Rasmussen, so it's totally fine.
Okay, good. All right. So tell me, what is going on with President Trump's poll numbers today? Today being, of course, July 15th, 2025.
Yeah, I just want everybody to know I'm not rooting for any particular team here except for the voters. And so people might get upset with the stuff I'm going to say, but the Trump administration needs to be called out right now because it's failing really hard. And what we have is that Donald Trump's approval rating has basically imploded in the last 3 weeks. And he just signed his signature legislation, the biggest bill of his second term, just a week and a half ago. His numbers should be soaring right now. They were Trump net +8 three and a half weeks ago. It's -4 right now. And the worst he's done this cycle was -5. So he's 1 point away from where his approval rating was when the market imploded 15%. Now, is it super horrible? Could it recover? That's possible, but the problem is that doesn't necessarily mean that the Republicans are going to go sailing to some pickup in the fall of 26 in the House and the Senate, right? That's the problem, is that right now, even though his numbers aren't horrible, might recover, that Trump appears to be losing a lot of political capital, especially with his base here, that might go on to drain support for the Republicans and cause the Democrats to pick up the House and the Senate.
So, oh boy, you said the House and the Senate. Up to now, we've been talking just the House. You just added the pickup of the Senate by Democrats. That means impeachment and possibly more likely conviction and removal, and Vice President J.D. Vance becomes president. Is that even a possibility based on what you just said?
Well, I think the bar is pretty high for conviction. But again, here's the problem, is that Republicans don't like Trump. And so we haven't really seen what Trump in a completely weakened scenario looks like. What happens if the Democrats could continue to pound on this Epstein stuff and produce fake committees like they did with the Jan 6 committee and turn this into a massive new Russian collusion hoax? This could turn into Donald Trump's essentially Afghanistan. And is it a big deal? No, it is, but it's an unforced error. They could correct this right now if they came out and acknowledged the fact that voters hate one of the biggest signals we've ever had in polling, two-tiered justice. And you have all these influencers saying nothing to see here. Ben Shapiro, no, nobody cares about this. They care about two-tiered justice. And what America was just informed about is that people who they believe are essentially being predators, abusing children that are rich and wealthy are going to skate. That's new and that's different. And so don't refer to polls from 5 or 6 months ago because people thought Trump was going to come in and fix this. And if he's not going to fix this, what about pharma accountability? What about firing all of these people that are embedded and corrupting the IRS, all these other agencies, right? What about holding the FBI accountable for the violent raid of Mar-a-Lago? What about the idea that basically people think that Joe Biden was taking money from our foreign adversaries? Across the board, the pardon? Are we going to see accountability on the auto pen thing? Probably not. If the Epstein stuff, we should have more evidence on Epstein than anything else because there's thousands of hours of video that apparently nobody's looked at, and our own Federal Bureau of No Investigation refuses to open an investigation. Instead, what we see is gaslighting and fake logic that America got really good at sniffing BS. And when you come out and say, oh, well, we can't produce Jeffrey Epstein's perfect list, therefore we can do nothing, that's not how law enforcement works. People will see through that, and the polling numbers we have out.
And we just got today we got some audio by President Trump on this, on the White House lawn, the South Lawn. Watch and listen to this, my friends. Here we go.
No, she's given us just a very quick briefing, and in terms of the credibility of the different things that they've seen. And I would say that, these files were made up by Comey. They were made up by Obama. They were made up by the Biden information. We went through years of that with the Russia hoax, with all of the different things that we had to go through. We've gone through years of it, but she's handled it very well, and it's going to be up to her. Whatever she thinks is credible, she should release. Yeah.
Okay, so what do you make of this thing now that this is made up by the Democrats? But whatever's credible, Pam Bondi should release.
It sounds like moving goalposts and artificial. He said the standard there is release. I don't think Americans really want to actually see videos of this stuff happening to kids. I think they just want to see people who the government thinks are persons of interest investigated and indicted. And so is that too hard to ask? We spend $11 billion a year on the FBI that, in my opinion, produces very little, because it certainly hasn't produced anything about Butler. It hasn't produced anything about things people care about, other than unless you were in a certain radius of the Capitol Hill on January 6th. And so until it's been proven that the FBI's priorities are in the interest of the voters, I'm just going to assume that they should do an investigation. Let me just read some numbers, and you tell me if you think that these numbers warrant an investigation by the people. So for the people, 57% are following this closely. Sure. 47% say Epstein was murdered. Only 31% say he committed suicide. Only 33% of Republicans. And this is after Dan Bongino came out and said that, or Kash Patel said that he saw the videos, right? The FBI and the Federal Department of Justice have recently concluded an investigation which found that Jeffrey Epstein committed suicide and that Epstein did not keep a client list. Do you believe the FBI and the Department of Justice are telling the truth? Only 21% say yes, 56% say no, 52% of Republicans don't even believe their own administration, 27%, only 27% of Republicans say yes, only 15% of independents, 55% say no. And which is closer to your opinion? The Epstein case is now closed, a la what Pam Bondi told everybody, or there are dozens of powerful and wealthy offenders who need to face justice. 16% say case closed. 68% say face justice. I can tell you that this is a much bigger signal than any of the stuff on the border. And so two-tiered justice is the problem here, and this was a blow to the idea that Americans are going to get redress for that. Only 20% of Republicans think that the Epstein case is now closed. It's not going to go away. This is going to hang like an albatross around Donald Trump's neck until it is righted. And I think it can be righted with just a simple statement from the FBI.
Well, that's the good news.
Come out and announce an investigation. They did it for Brennan. They're going to do an investigation. You can't just listen. Trust in the FBI was destroyed. We had a majority of people thinking it was Joe Biden's personal Gestapo. And so people think the FBI is corruptible, a lot of them, right? And so when you get in charge, just because Donald Trump's the head of the administration, people know about the deep state. Just because Ratcliffe's at the head of the CIA, just because Kash Patel is at the head of the FBI, doesn't mean people are going to implicitly trust everything that comes out of them. And so, unfortunately, the standard of evidence is higher. Transparency doesn't mean just telling everybody there's nothing to see here on Fox News. It means providing substance. Right. That's how you restore trust. So my call to the Trump administration is provide substance to satiate the fears and anger of the American people who think that their elitist betters are just running rampant and doing whatever they want.
So are we in the fourth turning now? And what does that mean to the audience? And does the fourth turning involve secession by some states, or what people are calling civil war, or what? What do you see? What does this polling tell you?
It's like the Spanish Inquisition. Nobody expects the Spanish Inquisition. It's hard to predict what the fourth turning is, but we've talked about it on your show. It's the idea that our society goes through cycles where order is high, and the need for order is high. Like, for instance, after World War II, society came together. A lot of people died, but it was a great period with high institutional trust, a lot of shared values. Society was very homogenous, I guess is probably the right word to say. And then there was a period after all of the 20 or 30 years of good time, a period where people became more individualistic. Oh, I'm tired of this stuff. Let's explore different stuff. Let's explore drug, sex, and rock and roll and all this other things. And then you have, well, there's still these institutions with values, the church, the Boy Scouts, like actual government agencies that do what they're supposed to do. But over time, those erode as well. And what you ultimately get is a society where the order is low, but the demand for order is super high. And that's what we're at right now. When 94% of voters say that the two-tiered system of justice is important, that's demand for order. When only 30% trust the federal government, when over 60% thought that the DOJ was weaponized like in a banana republic, those are demands for order. And the problem is,
by the way, when I hear that, when I hear demand for order, that's when I hear strongman. Okay. And I have to look at this through my Christian worldview lens, Bible prophecy. And I'm thinking, isn't that where a man steps on the stage promising order, peace and order, right?
Yeah.
A strongman, what the Bible calls that antichrist or a one world leader. Or maybe even before that, maybe what we need is AI. We've been talking with Patrick Wood for some time that, there are those out there in the Peter Thiel world that are talking about, what we can do with AI. He's not the only one, others. And so we're saying, well, maybe the technocrats are going to convince us that, this whole right-left paradigm, or what Peter Thiel says, the choice is either Antichrist or Armageddon, and Peter Thiel's on video. We've played it saying maybe there's a third option. So maybe there's another system they can put in place, an AI. And basically, we don't need these elected officials. We don't need all of this. We let AI write the laws. We let AI be the judges. We let AI run everything. So there is, as they will say, we've taken the human equation of corruption and the fallen nature of man out. That's if they want to acknowledge the idea of a fallen nature of man. But I don't know which one's going to come first. Will it be, we're done with all of these people? We've tried all of it. We're done. Let's turn it to AI and pray that it's programmed in a way that's, like Lady Justice, she's blindfolded? Or is it, no, we want a strong leader? As you say, we want order. And then a strong man steps up on the world stage, what the Bible calls Antichrist. I don't know.
So what my understanding of past fourth turnings has been is usually that they're instigated by a crisis, one that society can't afford not to ignore. They have to come together and solve this problem, like getting rid of the Axis in World War II, right? It's something insurmountable that we have to strive really hard, right? And what it involves is a rapid change in opinion. Just remember back to 9/11 and how people changed their opinions very rapidly. George W. Bush, despite the fact that many people hated him, wound up with like an 80% job approval rating. And just imagine that in today's society. It's almost foreign, but we're told that in a fourth turning, that happens to an even bigger degree. And usually what happens is that a vacuum of leadership gets filled. So right now, what you have is the vestiges of old institutions that were put together predominantly by boomers and older generations that have now frayed and fallen apart. And what you have is a bunch of angry young people who are not going to inherit the same happy lifestyle of their parents, and a crumbling dollar financial economic system. Wealth inequality is increasing rapidly. Family formation is spiraling. These things are unsustainable. And so what happens is, out of necessity, people will form a new value set very rapidly. It'll change opinions. And so that creates new institutions or takes over the institutions that exist and reforms them. And so what is fascinating to me and what you're talking about is this idea that the fourth turning could essentially be outsourced to one person, that Donald Trump can somehow come in and wave a magic wand and fix all of the ills of the last 80 to 90 years of American society. And that's not possible. Donald Trump does a great job cleaning up Washington, D.C., arrests some of these people, it restores the public trust. That still leaves us with messed up academia, messed up churches, messed up corporate boardrooms. Who are the people that are going to fix that, and why should they? I don't know how we get there, but history tells us it's coming, and it'll probably be on the back of a crisis. I don't know if people are going to just rush to anyone individual. I think almost Donald Trump feels like a last chance to me. I don't know, though. This is all just conjecture. I don't think people are going to trust AI, though, because I think just trust in things is low. And so a thing that comes as a panacea to the problems of society's ill, I don't know. But I'll tell you, the church doesn't
Well, that's where
necessarily. Yeah, go ahead.
the church. No, finish that sentence.
I'm just saying, like, who's stepping up? Where is this wave of new values? I saw interesting 18 to 39-year-old numbers where they were most pro-Trump. Now it's the 30 to 39-year-olds. The 18 to 29-year-olds are sort of drifting back liberal again. I don't know. But what we should see is a shift towards the younger generation taking the reins of leadership. I think as a leader, J.D. Vance would be very symbolic of that happening, to see a powerful millennial come in and solve the problem in a very different way than Trump. Very different type of leadership he has, and that would be interesting, and that could be a catalyst. Or it just might take, like, I don't know, World War III with Russia could take some form of social unrest here. We're certainly in a spiral of accelerationism with the way that the Democrats.
Well, we do know historically, Adolf Hitler, Mussolini, all these different people, that you generally have some kind of massive crisis that brings a strong man to power, right? And I'm wondering again, is this setting the stage on a global scale, as you say, economic problems globally, World War III, global, all these things, pandemics they might release, global, terrorism, bioweapons, etc. And that's where, again, I go back to the Bible, and you have a strong man come onto the scene who, according to the Bible, is promising peace. That's what he's promising. It's a false peace, but he's promising peace. Now, the Bible also says there's a strong spiritual delusion, and people will believe the lie. All who've not delighted in righteousness, but have delighted in wickedness. And so there's a delusion. It's a spiritual delusion. Much like when people would go and hear Hitler speak, they went there opposing him, but wanted to hear what he had to say, and they left mesmerized by him. Some kind of spiritual thing was going on. I don't know if that's what's coming, but I guess I'm only left with either AI bringing the order people want, AI, artificial intelligence, where things are more ordered, biometrics, chipping, all this kind of thing that can control things and turn some of this human stuff over to AI, which people are, maybe, hey, it couldn't do any worse than the clowns we got now. Or some strong spiritual leaders, religious leader, AI world leader, steps on the scene, mixing spirituality, who then incorporates AI, which that seems to be the mark of the beast. So I'm not looking for the Antichrist, but I am saying I think the stage is being set for all of this. Closing comment.
I mean, things are not great. Institutional trust is really low right now. The middle class is hollowed out, but there's a lot of green shoots. Trump is bringing over a lot of foreign investment. We just had a really high consumer economic confidence print. There's a lot of good news. The problem is that we have this bogey in 26, and it's going to be, I hesitate to overuse the word existential, but a lot of people that I've talked to who know things have conjectured that the Democrats, if they get control of the Senate, are going to get rid of the filibuster rule. They're probably going to impeach the heck out of Trump. They're going to do all these performative committees. They're going to literally, what they'll probably do is create an Epstein committee and rub Trump's nose in this if Trump doesn't get the problem fixed. And so no matter what we're talking about is a loss of political capital behind what I think was American voters' best shot at the next easiest way to resolve their issues. And so if those issues don't get resolved, then I don't know what that brings, but it could bring a lot of rapid change. It could bring a lot of strife, and maybe I'm wrong.
Wow. Please visit Mark Mitchell's website, Rasmussen Reports. If you want to follow him on X, there it is, @HonestPollster, @HonestPollster. Mark Mitchell, lead pollster of Rasmussen. Thank you, Mark. I did it again. Did it again.
Great to be here.
And Dolly's correcting me. I'm sorry, I got it wrong. I know, Dolly. All right, we'll be right back.